2-9 He is patient and long-suffering, with salvation in view for obedient ones. 2p3. 8-10 Yet he will not tolerate forever a situation that brings reproach upon his lofty name. PS 74. 10, 22, 23. Issa 65. 6, 7. 2pe2. 3 He shows compassion and is understanding regarding human frailties, forgiving repentant ones in a large way. PS 103. 10-14. 130. 3, 4. Issa 55. 6, 7. Yet he does not excuse persons from the responsibilities they rightly bear for their own actions and the effects these have on themselves and their families. They reap what they have sown. 30. 19, 20. 6. 5, 7, 8 Thus, Jehovah shows a beautiful and perfect balance of justice and mercy. Those having the proper perspective of matters as revealed in his word. Issa 55. 8, 9. As 18. 25, 29-31 Will not commit the grave error of trifling with his undeserved kindness or missing its purpose. 2 Co 6. 1. Heb 10. 26-31. 12. 29. Unchanging in qualities and standards. As Jehovah told the people of Israel, I am Jehovah. I have not changed. Mal 3. 6 This was some 3,500 years after God's creation of mankind, and some 1,500 years from the time of God's making the Abrahamic covenant. While some claim that the God revealed in the Hebrew scriptures differs from the God revealed by Jesus Christ and by the writers of the Christian Greek scriptures, examination shows this claim to be without any foundation. Of God, the disciple James rightly said, with him there is not a variation of the turning of the shadow. Ches 1. 17 There was no mellowing of Jehovah God's personality during the centuries, for no mellowing was needed. His severity as revealed in the Christian Greek scriptures is no less nor his love any greater than it was at the beginning of his dealings with mankind in Eden. The seeming differences in personality are in reality merely different aspects of the same unchanging personality. These result from the differing circumstances and persons dealt with, calling for different attitudes or relationships. Compare Issa 59. 1-4. It was not Jehovah, but Adam and Eve, who changed. They put themselves in a position where Jehovah's unchangeable righteous standards allowed no further dealings with them as members of his beloved universal family. Being perfect, they were fully responsible for their deliberate wrongdoing. Row 5. 14 And hence beyond the limits of divine mercy, although Jehovah showed them undeserved kindness in starting them out with clothing and allowing them to live for centuries outside the sanctuary of Eden and bring forth offspring before they finally died from the effects of their own sinful course. GE 3. 8-24 After their eviction from Eden, all divine communication with Adam and his wife apparently ceased. Why he can deal with imperfect humans. Jehovah's just standards allowed for his dealing differently with Adam and Eve's offspring than with their parents. Why? For the reason that Adam's offspring inherited sin, hence involuntarily started life as imperfect creatures with a built-in inclination toward wrongdoing. PS 51. 5. Row 5. 12 Thus, there was basis for mercy toward them. Jehovah's first prophecy GE 3. 15, spoken at the time of pronouncing judgment in Eden, showed that the rebellion of his first human children as well as that of one of his spirit sons had not embittered Jehovah nor dried up the flow of his love. That prophecy pointed in symbolic terms toward a righting of the situation produced by the rebellion and a restoration of conditions to their original perfection, the full significance being revealed millenniums later. Compare the symbolisms of the serpent, the woman, and the seed at 12. 9, 17. 3. 16, 29. 4. 26, 27. Adam's descendants have been permitted to continue textui acute miritra longo. Jehovah 19 certain of fulfillment. Jehovah calls the things that are not as though they were, as in naming Abram Abraham, meaning father of a crowd multitude, while he and Sarah were yet childless. Row 4. 17 Knowing that in his due time for he would provide a ransom, the legal means for forgiving sin and removing imperfection. Isra 53. 11, 12. Mount 20. 28. 1 Pe 2. 24. Jehovah consistently could deal with and have in his service imperfect men, inheritors of sin. It was because he had a just basis for counting, or reckoning, them as righteous persons, because of their faith in Jehovah's promises and, eventually, in the fulfillment of those promises in Christ Jesus as the perfect sacrifice for sins. Just 2. 23. Row 4. 20-25. Thus, Jehovah's provision of the ransom arrangement and its benefits gives striking testimony not only of Jehovah's love and mercy, but also of his fidelity to his exalted standards of justice, for by the ransom arrangement he exhibits his own righteousness in this present season, that he might be righteous even when declaring righteous the man, though imperfect, that has faith in Jesus. Row 3. 21-26. Compare Isra 42. 21. See declare righteous. Why the God of peace fights. Jehovah's statement in Eden that he would put enmity between the seed of his adversary and the seed of the woman did not change him from being the God of peace. Ge 3. 15. Row 16. 20. 1 Co 14. 33. The situation then was the same as in the days of the earthly life of his Son, Jesus Christ, who said, Do not think I came to put peace upon the earth. I came to put, not peace, but a sword. Mount 10. 32-40. Jesus' ministry brought divisions, even within families. Luke 12. 51-53, but it was because of his adherence to, and proclamation of, God's righteous standards and truth. Division resulted because many individuals hardened their hearts against these truths, while others accepted them. Joe 8. 40, 44-47. 15. 22-25. 17. 14. This was unavoidable if the divine principles were to be upheld. But the blame lay with the rejectors of what was right. So, too, enmity was foretold to come because Jehovah's perfect standards would allow for no condoning of the rebellious course of Satan's seed. God's disapproval of such ones and his blessing of those holding to a righteous course would have a divisive effect. Job 15. 18-21. Just 4. 4, even as in the case of Cain and Abel. Ge 4. 2-8. Heb 11. 4. 1 Joe 3. 12. Jude 10, 11. See Cain. The rebellious course chosen by men and wicked angels constituted a challenge to Jehovah's rightful sovereignty and to the good order of all the universe. Standing up to this challenge has required Jehovah to become a manly person of war. Acts 15. 3-7, defending his own good name and righteous standards, fighting on behalf of those who love and serve him, and executing judgment upon those meriting destruction. 1-17. 45. 2 Ch 14. 11. Isra 30. 27-31. 42. 13. He does not hesitate to use his almighty power, devastatingly at times, as at the flood, in the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, and in the delivery of Israel from Egypt. 7. 9, 10. And he has no fear of making known any of the details of his righteous warfare. He makes no apologies, having nothing for which to be ashamed. Job 34. 10-15. 36. 22-24. 37. 23, 24. 40. 1-8. Row 3. For his respect for his own name and the righteousness it represents, as well as his love for those who love him, compels him to act. Isra 48. 11. 57. 21. 59. 15-19. Re 16. 5-7. The Christian Greek scriptures portray the same picture. The Apostle Paul encouraged fellow Christians, saying, The God who gives peace will crush Satan under your feet shortly. Row 16. 20. Compare Ge 3. 15. He also showed the rightness of God's repaying tribulation to those causing tribulation for his servants, bringing everlasting destruction upon such opposers. 2th 6-9 It was in harmony with the teachings of God's Son, who left no room for doubt as to his Father's O textoi acute miritra longo. Jehovah himself is there 20. Yet it would be a grave error to miss the upbuilding and comforting insight into Jehovah God's personality that his dealings with fleshly Israel provide. These give sterling examples proving that Jehovah is the kind of person he described himself to Moses as being. Jehovah, a God merciful and gracious, slow to anger and abundant in loving kindness and truth, preserving loving kindness for thousands, pardoning error and transgression and sin, but by no means will he give exemption from punishment, bringing punishment for the error of fathers upon sons and upon grandsons, upon the third generation and upon the fourth generation. X34 4-7. Compare X20 5. Though balanced by justice, it is in reality Jehovah's love, patience, and long-suffering that are the outstanding facets of his personality as revealed in the history of Israel, a highly favored people who, in their majority, proved remarkably stiff-necked and hard-hearted toward their Creator. X34 8, 9. NE 9. 16, 17. J 7. 21-26. S3. 7. The strong denunciations and condemnation repeatedly leveled against Israel by Jehovah through his prophets only serve to emphasize the greatness of his mercy and the amazing extent of his long-suffering. At the end of over 1,500 years of bearing with them, and even after his own son was slain at the instigation of religious leaders of the nation, Jehovah continued to favor them for a period of 3.5 more years, mercifully causing the preaching of the good news to be restricted to them, granting them yet further opportunity to gain the privilege of reigning with his son. An opportunity that repentant thousands accepted. Act 2. 1-5, 14-41. 10. 24-28, 34-48. C. 70 weeks. Jesus Christ evidently referred to Jehovah's previously quoted statement as to bringing punishment to later descendants of offenders when he said to the hypocritical scribes and Pharisees, "You say, if we were in the days of our forefathers, we would not be sharers with them in the blood of the prophets. Therefore you are bearing witness against yourselves that you are sons of those who murdered the prophets. Well, then, fill up the measure of your forefathers." Mount 23. 29-32 Despite their pretensions, by their course of action such ones demonstrated their approval of the wrong deeds of their forefathers and proved that they themselves continued to be among those hating Jehovah. X20 5. Mount 23. 33-36. Job 15. 23, 24 Thus, they, unlike the Jews who repented and heeded the words of God's Son, suffered the cumulative effect of God's judgment when, years later, Jerusalem was besieged and destroyed and most of its population died. They could have escaped but chose not to avail themselves of Jehovah's mercy. Lu 21. 20-24. Compare Dar 9. 10, 13-15. His personality reflected in his Son. In every respect Jesus Christ was a faithful reflection of the beautiful personality of his Father, Jehovah God, in whose name he came. Job 1. 18. Mount 21. 9. Job 12. 12, 13. Compare PS 118. 26. Jesus said, "The Son cannot do a single thing of his own initiative, but only what he beholds the Father doing. For whatever things that one does, these things the Son also does in like manner." Job 5. 19 It follows, therefore, that the kindness and compassion, the mildness and warmth, as well as the strong love for righteousness and hatred of wickedness that Jesus displayed had 1. 8, 9, are all qualities that the Son had observed in his Father, Jehovah God. Compare Mount 9. 35, 36 with PS 23. 1-6 and Issa 40. 10, 11. Mount 11. 27-30 with Issa 40. 28-31 and Issa 57. 15, 16. Lu 15. 11-24 with PS 103. 8-14. Lu 19. 41-44 with S 18. 31, 32. S 33. 11. Every lover of righteousness who reads the inspired scriptures and who truly comes to know with understanding the full meaning of Jehovah's name PS 9. 9, 10. 91. 14. J 16. 21 has every reason, therefore, to love and bless that name PSO textoi acute miritra longo. Jehovah of armies 21. Jehovah is our righteousness. The expression translated from the two words you outside middle. Que new, found at Jeremiah 23. 6 and 33. 16. Jeremiah 23. 5, 6 is a messianic prophecy describing the future king sprouting from David's line to execute justice and righteousness in the land. Since he rules as God's representative even as David, and others, sat upon Jehovah's throne as God's anointed king. 1 Ch 29. 23, the prophecy says, this is his name with which he will be called, Jehovah is our righteousness. There is no basis for claiming, as some have, that this means that Jesus, the Messiah, and Jehovah are the same, forming one God. This can be seen from the fact that the similar messianic prophecy at Jeremiah 33. 14-16 applies the identical expression to Jerusalem, saying, and this is what you will be called, Jehovah is our righteousness. In both cases the expression shows that God's name, Jehovah, placed both upon his promised king and upon his chosen capital, is a guarantee of their righteousness. Moreover, the justice and righteousness emanating from or expressed by these sources are the product of full devotion to Jehovah and his divine will, bringing Jehovah's blessing and direction. Jehovah Jireh middle. Jehovah Jireh Jehovah will see to it. Jehovah will provide. A place on one of the mountains in the land of Moriah where Abraham found a ram caught in a thicket and subsequently offered it instead of Isaac. Abraham viewed this ram as Jehovah's provision and therefore named the place Jehovah Jireh. Ancient tradition links this location with the site of Solomon's temple. GE 22. 2, 13, 14. See Moriah. Jehovah Nissi G middle. Jehovah Nissi. The name of the memorial altar erected by Moses after Israel's successful battle against the Amalekites at Rephidim. X 17. 8, 13-16. The name means Jehovah is my signal pole, deriving this middle. C from their signal pole. The Greek Septuagint translators understood this middle. C to be derived from thus flee for refuge, thus giving it the meaning Jehovah is my refuge, while in the Latin Vulgate it was thought to be derived from Nasus hoist. Lift up, thus giving it the meaning Jehovah is my exaltation. X 17. 15, FTN. Jehovah of armies. This expression, found 285 times, with variations, in the scriptures, translates the Hebrew middle. Watsiva middle. Oath. The prophetic books, particularly Isaiah, Jeremiah, and Zechariah, contain by far the majority of its occurrences. Paul and James, quoting from or alluding to the prophecies, used its equivalent transliterated into Greek in their writings. Row 9. 29. Just 5. 4. Compare Issa 1. 9. The Hebrew words a middle. Va singular. Plural, Siva middle. Oath basically means a literal army of soldiers, or combat forces, as at Genesis 21. 22. Deuteronomy 20. 9, and many other texts. However, the term is also used in a figurative sense as in the heavens and the earth and all their army, or the sun and the moon and the stars, or the army of the heavens. GE 2. 1. De 4. 19. The plural form Tsiva middle. Oath is employed a number of times as applying to the Israelite forces, as at Exodus 6. 26. 7. 4. Numbers 33. 1. Psalms 44. 9. 60. 10. Some scholars believe that the armies in the expression Jehovah of armies include not only the angelic forces, but also the Israelite army and the inanimate heavenly bodies. However, it appears that the armies signified are primarily, if not exclusively, the angelic forces. When Joshua saw an angelic visitor near Jericho and asked him if he was for Israel or for the enemy side, the reply was, "No, but as Prince of the army of Jehovah I have now come." Jos 5:13-15. The prophet Micaiah told Kings Ahab and Jehoshaphat, "I certainly see Jehovah sitting upon his throne and all the army of the heavens standing by him, to his right and to his left," clearly referring to Jehovah's spirit sons. 1 Kai 22. 19-21. The use of the plural form in Jehovah of armies o textoi acute miritra longo. Jehovah's Day 22. Unaided by any earthly military force, challenged the formidable Philistine Goliath in the name of Jehovah of armies, the God of the battle lines of Israel. 1 17. 45. Not only in times of literal battle, but also in all other trialsome situations or occasions of importance, God's people as a whole and as individuals could take courage and hope from recognizing the majesty of Jehovah's sovereign position, reflected in his control over the mighty forces serving from his heavenly courts. 1 1. 9-11. 2 6. 18. 7. 25-29. The use of the expression Jehovah of armies by the prophets supplied yet one more reason for those hearing the prophecies to be certain of their fulfillment. Jehovah's Day. See Day of Jehovah. Jehovah Shalom Jehovah Shalom. Jehovah is peace. The name given to the altar that Gideon built at Ophrah of the Jordan. After having seen Jehovah's angel, Gideon feared that he would die. But he was assured, "Peace be yours. Do not fear. You will not die." Out of gratitude, Gideon built the altar, evidently not for sacrifice, but as a memorial to Jehovah. JG 6. 22-24. Jehozabad Bad. Probably, Jehovah has endowed. 1. The second of Obed-Edom's 8 sons included among the sanctuary gatekeepers. 1 Ch 26. 1, 4, 5, 13, 15. 2. A Benjamite officer over 180,000 in King Jehoshaphat's army. 2 Ch 17. 17, 18. 3. An accomplice in the slaying of King Jehoash of Judah. Jehozabad and Josachar, servants of Jehoash, put the king to death because he had murdered Jehoiada's son Zechariah. They themselves were killed by Jehoash's son and successor, Amaziah. Jehozabad was the son of a Moabitess named Shimrath and of Shomer. 2 Kai 12. 20, 21. 2 Ch 24. 20-22, 25-27. 25. 1, 3. Jehozadak Hosa. Probably, Jehovah pronounces righteous, Josadak shortened form of Jehozadak. The shorter form is used in Nehemiah, the longer form elsewhere. Father of High Priest Jeshua Joshua. S 3. 2. Hag 1. 12. Zech 6. 11. Jehozadak was taken into exile after Nebuchadnezzar killed his father, the chief priest Sariah, and thus through him the high priestly line was preserved. 1 Ch 6. 14, 15. 2 Kai 25. 18-21. Ne 12. 26. Jehu possibly, Jehovah is he. 1. A Benjamite of the city of Anathoth who came as a volunteer to serve with David. David was then at Ziklag as a refugee from King Saul. Jehu was among the mighty men armed with the bow, using the right hand and using the left hand with stones or with arrows in the bow. 1 Ch 12. 1-3. 2. A prophet, the son of Hanani. He foretold the destruction of the house of Baasha, king of Israel. 1 Kai 16. 1-4, 7, 12. More than 33 years later,